Good afternoon. It is past 12 o'clock, as you can see on Johan Singh's clock. Welcome. This is the Not in the Clouds podcast.
Have we named it? Is it official? In the Clouds.
That's it, yeah. We named it, it's done.
There we go, it's done. Stamp.
Why is it not in the clouds?
Because it's everywhere, right? Or it's everywhere. What is everywhere? What is the cloud?
We don't want our heads in the clouds.
Yeah. I think when we came up with that
I don't want to feel like there's somebody watching me from above the clouds.
Yeah. It was just trying to keep it grassroots, keep it to the ground where people, everyone can understand. We can understand each other.
And it's that different perspective, right?
Yeah.
How many people do we think actually believes there's somebody looking at us from above the skies? And
there's a lot of people. I think a lot of people. There's a white bearded man in the sky who's judging me.
Kind of strange.
Yeah, it is a bit weird. It is a bit weird. If you're in London, it's not too weird because you've got cameras everywhere.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Actually, but they're preparing us for the eventuality of where our whole life's recordings are shown to us after we die.
Yeah.
What? Is that what happens?
I hope not. I want to corrupt some of those recordings.
Bus lane cameras get you though.
Pardon?
There's no escaping bus lane cameras.
Yeah, oh mate. Have you been
Yes.
caught recently?
You got caught recently?
Yeah, about a year ago.
Oh, man.
I was trying to be clever, but I thought, overtaking this guy, I'll take this middle lane. Realised afterwards it was a bus lane. I got a very good, very detailed video sent to my email.
They sent you a video?
I got a video.
Wow.
You know what happened to me recently? This is when you have to really actually do your theory test when you pass your car. You have to do it properly. I didn't know that if something had a red circle around it, I thought the only time it means that you're not allowed to do it is to have a cross for it. But actually, there's one sign where it's the circle with a car and a motorbike.
Oh yeah.
And that means cars and motorbikes are not allowed to go down that road.
Oh, really?
And that's how I got a ticket. And I was like, and I had to look into it. I was like, it's saying that the car can go through. I was about to complain, and then when I looked at the code or whatever they call it, apparently I was wrong.
So yeah, we don't just talk about driving convictions and and things like that. We'll talk about
everything. I think we'll cover a whole spectrum of things. But
yeah. So we're looking to put this podcast together so that we can share our views, share our thoughts on the world, what's happening in the world, how we can stay centered, how we can live a spiritual life, how we can live in tandem with a whole host of different people, different views, different thoughts, and how we have been doing it for, my 33 years of my life.
Yeah, 100%.
So, bit of context as well. There was a gentle nudge, I think, for us to try and kickstart this podcast. I think we've been trying to do it for we've been brainstorming it, trying to think of how we could do it, but then it was that gentle nudge, which sort of why we're here. But like you say, I don't think we're experts in any sense of the word. But just again, like you say, perspectives of how we've dealt with some challenges, how we've looked at some situations, and hopefully with guidance from Gurbani and each other's perspectives, and hopefully challenging each other's discussions and perspectives will bring us to some value add.
Let's give those listeners who maybe don't understand what Gurbani is, meaning of Gurbani. What is Gurbani?
Yeah, I think everybody's looking at me.
Yeah, we also just turned towards you.
So I think Gurbani, I don't want to kind of contain it within, this is within this scripture or in this scripture. Gurbani is anytime somebody, I'm going to use another word which I'll explain what it is jigyasu, meaning somebody that actually wants to realize something beyond their current understanding. They want to awaken. And not like awaken from a sleep, but awaken from a place of not knowing something and to then know something. And naturally in that moment you're going to want to find a person that can guide you, shine a light on that. So that's where the Guru aspects come from. Gu meaning darkness, Ru meaning light. And Bani means what they told us at that moment and how they enlightened us in that moment. So if we take that definition of Gurbani, and the actual main aspect of that is that person is one. They are not afflicted by duality.
What do you mean by one? What does one mean?
meaning that they've risen beyond this illusion. And when I say this illusion, is that you've started seeing how everything's interconnected, and I think that that knowledge and that starting to experience that everything is interconnected, and actually knowing that, experiencing that, I think those people have a very unique perspective on how this world works, of what they actually start seeing within the world. And I think Gurbani, when we actually read Gurbani, we can see how their unique perspective is something that we want to actually capture and try and get to, and not just read it for the sake of reading, but actually see what is being said and trying to connect with it.
Yeah, I think a lot of what we're going to be talking about and what we've been looking at is going to be based off of Gurbani, but also put 100%. Practicality into it in terms of how that fits into 2024 now.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And actually how we've all started to realize that, fine, there is different schools of thought, but in terms of the core elements of what's connecting it all, definitely in my experience is it's all trying to get you to this one place, which is reaching a point of understanding and actually contentment.
Understanding and maturity. I think that word is missed quite often in spiritual progression, is when you can be mature about the fact that there are different schools of thought and be willing to try and look into them, or even try and accept that they exist. Some people are just cocooned.
100%, yeah. Guru Nanak Dev Ji says it, Chha Kar, Chha Guru, Chha Upadesh, Guru Guru Ekko, Ves Anek. ਉਹ ਗੁਰੂ ਇੱਕ ਹੀ ਆ, ਪਰ ਉਹਦੇ ਵੇਸ ਬਹੁਤ ਨੇ, ਅਨੇਕ ਨੇ, ਕਿ ਉਹਦੀ ਕੋਈ ਗਿਣਤੀ ਨਹੀਂ. That you can't count any of that.
And a common analogy to that is me driving down the motorway today. I could have taken the M1, could have taken the M5, M4, whatever, but took the M40. That was the route I took. Different challenges on different routes, different speed cameras on different routes, but none on the M40, thankfully.
So that leads us on to our sort of topic that I think we've been discussing over the last week or so. We've got together a few times to talk about superstitions and how superstitions can affect things that you do, how superstitions can come into your mind when you're, I don't know, going about your day to day. If you're like washing Pandey at night, was one of them. Is that
cutting nails? Cutting
nails at night. Yeah.
There's a couple.
A lot of it is related to not doing things at night for some reason.
Yeah,
you should just be sleeping.
Right? Yeah. We just be sleeping.
Fear of the dark. Maybe the fear of the unknown. I think is a big one. Which leads to
fear of the unknown. And wanting to gain control. Right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, what are some of the examples that you know of what superstitions that exist? So there was the one that we discussed. I don't know if it's a superstition, but walking under signs.
Yeah.
Walking under signs? Oh, I haven't heard.
Have you not? Walking under ladders is a common one, but signs, it might be a cultural one.
I think so, because at uni, I know I had a guy who used to be like, "Why are you walking under a sign for? You would never walk under a sign."
You mean like
sign
direction
boards,
sign?
Yeah.
Or like if there's two poles and the signs above, you don't walk underneath. Oh, okay, interesting.
And that was just a cultural thing. I didn't ever ask him why. Did you get a reason why, or did you get?
No, well, I mean, I remember at school. This is primary school. You'd get teased, and it wasn't a nice tease. Like if you're walking under two poles.
Okay.
It was one of those ones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We had the one, don't walk on cracks.
Oh yeah, break your arms back.
Maybe it's kind of related.
I've heard that. I've heard that.
Not when you're walking down the street.
But
don't walk on cracks.
The second part's that you don't break your mum's back.
Oh, is that what?
That's what I'm learning now. But
Oh, is that a new one? Okay. Yeah, that's what we heard.
Whoa. Yeah, never happened. But
number 13. Oh, the new one that I've learned is Eastern Asians don't. They number 4 is unlucky. Really? So when they write 2024, it's 2023A.
Have you seen that? Numbers is quite a common one, isn't it? How some people have lucky numbers, and some people have unlucky numbers. Right?
Number 8's meant to be lucky in Asian culture.
If you look at the number 8 as well.
Yeah, like it's like infinity, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a brilliant number, right? And what is infinity?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I mean,
even 0 in of it being like never ending. How it relates to
number 13 is a common one. I think that's
of being good or bad.
Bad. Number 13.
I don't know what it is, but I don't know whether it's a superstition or not. But I've got a thing. If I go to a shop, I never buy a thing in ones. I always have to buy a thing in twos.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, if it's expensive, I don't.
Yeah, I have that. Do you know what?
I
it
think
is?
that's a man thing.
I have a thing where if I'm having something like almonds or something like small, I always have to have it in like fives.
Really?
And like every time it's like, and
yeah,
it's like
so
that's
this is
okay. But it's, I don't know if you can call that a superstition. It just makes me want
Connection.
to remind
of
me of something.
There's
But
another one that
if somebody gave me 6, I would give one back.
there's another really nice one that Juan had that I learned from you, which was if you're going to take out anything to the bins, and you go, if you go and explain that one.
Yeah. So this was one actually. Like if somebody looked at me and they saw me doing this, they could develop a superstition. Whereas actually what I was thinking in my mind was actually something different. So my thing was every time I throw something in the bin, I try to visualize that I'm throwing away something that I know is negative within me. And I tried to make that a habit. To be fair, I don't do it a lot now, but there was a time where I tried to do it.
Yeah.
But if somebody saw me doing that, and they didn't understand why I was doing that,
It just becomes a ritual.
and it became a ritual, I'd be quite disturbed.
Yeah. I think it's
And maybe that's where some of the history of these kind of things come from, where actually the original person had a really beautiful meaning behind it, and we just looked at the outwards action and not the actual internal intent, and they were associating it with something positive, where then we associate it with, if you don't do that, which will cause negativity. You see what I mean?
When we were doing the research for this episode, put out the question to my Instagram, people I follow, what kind of superstitions do you believe in or know of?
Yeah.
And a lot of the responses I got back, which worried me at the time, but I don't think it's an issue, was from Indian people.
Okay.
A lot of my Indian friends came back and like, I know about this
From
superstition.
Indian subcontinent or here?
Indians in the UK.
In the UK,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, which I thought, is it just an issue with us, or like does the rest of the world?
Yeah.
And then digging more into it, there are global superstitions.
Okay.
I think that the one that we're going to look at, number 13, is quite global.
Okay.
Cutting nails is one that I recently learnt about. I was speaking to Raja.
That's global as well, or is that
No,
quite unique to us?
I think that's unique to India.
Okay.
So the superstition is that you don't cut your nails at night. Anybody know what the reason for that is?
Well, speaking to Superstitions, and actually prior to this, what I was always told was that, what we made sense of it is that back then there wasn't like electricity, no lights, and logically it wouldn't make sense. And people who were wise would tell you don't do it, like you would tell a child not to do something, and then to explain it to the next generation, they associated it that if you do it, then something bad will happen to you. But actually, Subaji, which something I actually only learned yesterday, was that the reason is that when you cut your nails, it looks very, for like smaller animals or smaller insects, it looks very similar to jol. And when jol, it looks very similar to rice, and rice grains. And when they would sweep that out of the house in the morning, which they would do regularly, for the insect, they wouldn't be able to differentiate whether this is food or not. And when they would eat that, obviously it would cause the insect pain or cause the animal pain. And people wanted to avoid that because they had that awareness that, okay, any action that I take will have an effect on my environment, have effect on the other living beings that are living around me. And that was the reason why, is that anytime I cut my nails, they would dig up the ground and they would actually put it quite deep in the ground so that you wouldn't be able to it wouldn't ruin the environment.
And again, very well intentioned.
Yeah, the intention's beautiful, right? When I heard it, I was like, whoa, actually it makes me actually not want to do it at night now. But obviously meaning that, okay, it'll make me want to cut my nails and make sure I'm disposing of it correctly.
Funny story about this one. I was speaking to Raja about superstitions. And it's your story actually. When Raja told you about this superstition, out of protest, Juan Singh cut his nails right there and then. It was night time in protest. Look, nothing's happened to me.
Classic.
And there's two things to superstitions. It's either good luck or bad luck, right? I think those are the two categories that come about when we're talking about superstitions.
So
breaking a mirror.
That's got massive impact on the human psychology, right? Because that will mess with your head, because you might not do something at some point. For example, now you're cutting your nails. It's not a massive big deal, but if you're I heard one where you don't buy metal on a certain day. I heard that one recently as well. I wasn't even aware. But imagine your car's being delivered on a Tuesday. And you're what?
I have to tell them to not give it
Yeah,
today.
delayed delivery. I'm not home today. Come back tomorrow.
I'm sick.
Yeah,
Maybe there's a sense
Yeah,
of
yeah.
rebellion,
Yeah,
especially within
Yeah,
us. Is that he would purposefully buy it on
Yep.
those days.
yeah.
Again, as a protest.
As a protest.
So it's interesting where there's always going to be people that rebel against these things.
Yeah.
But then there's going to be the people that follow it.
But I think that's a good thing. If you rebel, you go to the depths to find out why that's happening,
Yes, yeah.
or you will do something opposite
Yes.
to either, prove yourself, but then that could also work as an ego kind of.
I think so. I was talking to John about this. I think we've lost within Sikh Panth or the Khalsa Panth. We've lost that rebellious streak.
You think so?
With Sadhguru Nanak Dev Ji was very rebellious.
Yeah.
They were a revolutionary,
Yeah.
challenging the Hukumat at the time, the government at the time, challenging Pandits who were quite established.
Yeah.
Forcing them to think a different way. I think there's a documentary about Bhagat Kabir Ji and how they were revolutionary, but that revolutionary streak came with Sadhguru Nanak Dev Ji as well. And we've lost that.
Kabir Ji, there's one example actually where you're going to have to remind me actually what the places' names are. I'm sure you might remember. But there's a place in India where it's a general belief that if you go there and die,
It's Benares.
Benares, yeah.
Right.
If you go there and die, you will go to heaven.
Mm.
And then if you die in another place, I can't remember what the name
Magad,
of
I
it.
think it is. I could be wrong.
Okay,
But it is.
Yeah,
in
but there's another place. I was troubled with it. It comes in the verse where Bhagat Kabir Ji is actually saying this, is that they purposefully travelled near the end of their life, travelled to the place where people say if you die here you go to hell.
Love it.
Bhagat Kabir Ji purposefully went there to die.
Yeah.
Again,
This
it's
is
a form of that rebellion, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think maybe that rebellion is trying to fight for understanding.
Yes.
And I think previously we were just talking about fighting for understanding, fighting for faith.
I think we enjoy it when we go to work.
Mm.
We enjoy the fact that people come to us and ask questions. Why are you dressed this way?
Yes,
Why
true,
do you
yeah.
why do you do this a certain way?
100%.
There are some of the ignorant questions which they're there to antagonize.
Yeah.
But there are some very inquisitive people who genuinely want to learn. And it's
Yeah,
that fighting to dispel ignorance.
See, I disagree with your initial point where you said that I think that Sikhs have lost their fight. I think it just looks different at the moment. I think a lot of what we're seeing is, people joining feminist movements, people joining
Vegan movements.
exactly, and it's just disguised as that rather than it being like outwardly rebellious in a certain way.
Yeah.
So I think there is a lot of rebellion within us, and I think that I'm going to use the word anak. That anak is in us because
Self-respect. I think anak is quite a unique word, but it's about self-respect. But I think it goes deeper than that because I don't think that's a really good translation. But it's that knowing that I'm not going to let you have power over me. I think that's the way I would put it. Is that I'm not going to let you have power over me.
Speaking of power, there's another within the new year. Celebrating the new year. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I found out that in Latin America and Spain and parts of Europe, eating 12 grapes at midnight on New Year's Day is considered good luck.
Damn, this is going to be a bad year
12
for me.
grapes, yeah.
No, we'll have to wait so long now.
That's it. There was a video on TikTok of somebody showing aisles of just empty fruit shelves.
Well, our New Year's in April, so
Cheers.
We've got time.
Yeah, we've got time. We can have
Let's do
another
it.
try. Yeah.
And the reason it's 12 grapes was that going to be your question?
No.
12 grapes, one grape for each month is going to bring good luck. No idea why,
But also, like, I don't know why we stay up till midnight. Why do we stay up to midnight to start the new day?
that's a good point. We did something really nice, which I enjoyed in Birmingham. We did Asadiwar on New Year's morning,
Yeah.
and that was really good. Normally we've done like a typical evening program, and then you can't do anything in the morning because you're knackered.
Actually, I want to mention Sant Satnam Singh here. There's somebody that actually taught me like how to meditate on Naam, and somebody that
From East
actually got
London.
to from East London. They taught us a lot actually, and they actually for New Year's they used to tell us off if we stayed awake till 12.
Oh yeah.
That
Well, I agree with that.
and the reason they gave is you're saying that you're staying awake so you start the year positively. The only way you can start the year positively is if you wake up early and do your Naam Simran.
Yep.
and
And the reason-
if by doing that you're going to start your year by actually waking up late,
Yeah.
What's the point?
Yeah.
So I always found that perspective quite interesting because it's not really the norm. I think
I
most
think
people
it's
do stay awake till 12.
Yeah.
Even if you looked at Harmandir Sahib this year, the videos I saw, it was packed. Really,
Midnight.
really busy at midnight.
Midnight.
Yeah, really busy at midnight. Yeah.
Again, our New Year's in April, so it's a bit weird.
Yeah, that's what I think there was a lot of commentary around that. Is that we celebrate this new year with so much fervor and like with so much like faith that if I start my new year good on this day, I can make my year better. But I think there is certain cases where definitely superstitions are really deep in the psyche around good luck and bad luck, whereas I think some are an interpretation on wanting to put your best foot forward.
Yeah.
And how that manifests sometimes is different. At the end of the day, if we see somebody that's doing something that we believe is superstitious, it normally isn't the person that's doing that is going to notice. It's normally the third person saying it to you, right? And
the outsider.
It's the outsider.
So your community around you need to be those who are guiding you in a way that is positive and not being, preventative when you're doing something, not putting 100%. Those blockers in.
But then it's like not being hard line about things, right? That always have that self-awareness of, if I think I represent something, that doesn't actually mean that is my identity, to the point where anything that is outside of that is something I won't relate to or that I shouldn't relate to.
Just to try and bring this back a little bit, is the story that comes to mind is when Guru Nanak Dev Ji went to Hardwar, and the Brahmins are offering water to their ancestors, and the way that they're offering the water is by pointing it to the sun.
Yeah, to the sun, to the east. Yeah.
To the east.
Yeah.
And then so Guru Nanak Dev Ji comes in as a third party.
Something that I actually battle with, we were talking about Guru Nanak Dev Ji, is in by Gurdasi's Var, I think it comes where Guru Nanak Dev Ji are pointing the charan towards Mecca, right? They're pointing the charan towards the Kaaba.
The Kaaba.
Let's clarify two things. What is charan and what is Mecca?
So maybe this is another thing where actually, I don't know why, but I always feel uncomfortable saying feet for some reason, but maybe I don't know where that comes
from. It's the connotation.
Maybe it's the connotation,
I think charan is a heavier word. Charan,
there's more affection.
And when we were growing up, when we were sitting in the Sangha, then we would point our feet towards the asana sometimes when we would get tired. We would always get told off, saying that's really disrespectful, you shouldn't do that. Don't put your back towards that direction. Don't put your feet towards that direction. And even till now, that's something I would never do. But then when I read that, it brings to mind that actually within Sikhi we do actually believe in respect as well.
Just for people who haven't heard the story. So the moral of the story was that Guru Nanak Dev Ji is trying to convey that God is everywhere.
Yes.
He's not in one specific spot.
Right. He's not just in the clouds, eh?
He's not just in the clouds. Gone round full circle.
So by you in the congregation, in the Gurdwara, by you pointing your feet towards the asana where typically Sadhguruji would sit, we're seen as being disrespectful. So
disrespectful.
Well intended.
Well intended. I think that's where there's an element of respect that comes into it. Is that if somebody in that moment said to me, do not point your feet in that direction, it's disrespectful to God, I think I would disagree. But if you tell me that it's disrespectful in the form of respect, and not, obviously Guru Nanak Dev Ji is trying to talk about how in that concept of the creator is within everything, that you don't need to face in a singular direction to be able to say that I am praying or I am devoted to that creator, that it shouldn't be just based on one direction. This is what Guru Nanak Dev Ji is trying to show.
Maybe sometimes you get lost in the act of doing something, and then you lose yourself in I've just done this, rather than 100%. Devoting yourself to doing that.
Because anybody that wants to play devil's advocate in that, it could say that Guru Nanak Dev Ji is being disrespectful there. But it goes back to, again, full circle, of wanting to give that understanding. And I think these people that have that ultimate understanding, if we want to call it that, they are always going to want to guide us to that ultimate understanding. And to us, things may not seem like the norm, But it says, like in Gurbani, it says that those people that are walking the path of the world, and those people that are walking the path of, obviously if we wanted a direct translation we would say devotion, but I like to say it's more of a deeper understanding, or trying to experience something that is higher than ourselves. I think their actions are always going to be seemed quite unique and again rebellious.
I think we can turn loads of things into superstitions now. It's like
you're
driving down the road and you see a gurdwara and you've got music on, you've got Kiss
you
FM on
turn
or something.
it down,
Did you turn it down? Do you turn it down?
Um,
I personally don't, but I've seen people. I've been in like.
I don't think I'm driving around enough Gurdwara.
But it goes
I live
back
in
to that
Southall.
point. It goes back to that point of respect, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that
that's
it can't
true.
go to that. It can't go that deeply where things become like where we don't have decorum. As
Yeah.
well.
But then if it's done emptily is that, I don't know if that's the word,
Yeah,
but if it's
yeah.
done just ritualistically,
Yeah.
without any understanding
Yeah,
of why
yeah.
we're doing it, then it does become a superstition.
Yeah.
If I don't want to take this Gurdwara whilst I'm driving by,
Yeah,
I'm going to
yeah.
run into bad luck, and then it becomes
That's
an issue.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah. It's sometimes it's something I battle with within myself is when does ego start playing a part in it. In Asadiwar it says don't bow if really you haven't understood that in terms of bowing your mind or bowing your intellect. The vision is that, okay, actually I don't know if I'm doing that or not. Is there actually even any point of doing it then? But then if then I would say there's an element of there where no, we should make an effort even if I've not reached there. That is the ultimate where I want to get to that point. But if I haven't got to that point, doesn't mean I shouldn't do it altogether.
There's a really good point. There's a thing when I started working, like after graduating, there was a thing about dress for the job that you want, right? And the way that I relate, you never heard that, right?
No.
Interesting.
The way that I relate it is like the job that we want, the ultimate goal that we want in Sikhi is to become one with the Almighty.
Yeah.
And even if it begins as a facade, even if internally you feel like a hypocrite or you don't feel like you're a proper Sikh,
Yeah.
but it has to begin somewhere.
I think that was also something that we were talking about earlier inside, where we were saying, you'd always dress the part first, right? So you'd have your kade kude, you'll have your everything, mala up till here, you have like the best kurta pajama, the biggest bug in the world. It's just like...
And I think that phase is important.
It is.
To feel... like I think we was talking about this before in terms of when we look at the Indian subcontinent and the history in terms of schools of thought, of philosophy. We give it names now, right? But at that time there was no names for these things. So now we say Hinduism or Buddhism or Jainism. Or we say these things are quite new for us, right? We've tried to put it into a box.
Yeah.
But anyway, going back, it's a bit off topic. But going back to the point is that there was two main aspects of that school of thought, where there's one route which is more aligned to the like Mahatma Buddha route, which is more about meditation, that reaching that ultimate understanding purely through meditation. And then later on you've got the Bhakti movement, which is the devotional movement, which is more focused on giving everything a deeper meaning and relating all that to pyar, meaning pyar translating to love, this pure love. Right, and going back to that is where I want to link that to superstition is what's unique about that the love route and trying to get that ultimate understanding through the route of love is that and something Subhaji actually said to me, Subhaji Singh Ji, is that Sikh that wakes up every day through the love that my Guru has told me to do this, and for all of their life they keep that routine of waking up in the morning and do their prayers and do their meditation. They said that is no less than martyrdom. That is no less than that is no less than that, because you've given yourself to that.
Surrendered is a good word.
And I thought that that is an amazing way of putting it. And when we look at all the martyrs in our history, we have no limit in terms of how many martyrs we could talk about. And when we look at it, what they all had in common is this element of pyar, this element of love. That it's not like Guru Gobind Singh Ji's army that they were all getting paid.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, they might have been, which is fine.
But then it does come to a point where they're not as well.
Yeah.
Like they're there for the good and they're there for the bad.
Yeah.
And what
Topical, actually, because we've got the Maggi Mela coming up.
Yeah, Maggi Mela as well, the Charlie Mukde,
Yeah, Charlie
where which is the 40 liberated ones. Who actually originally, just to put a little bit of light on that, is 40 of Guru Gobind Singh Ji's Sikh, who actually give Guru Gobind Singh Ji a letter that we don't want to be your Sikhs
Letter
anymore.
of desertion.
Yeah, letter of desertion. And still they come back.
Yeah.
And anyway, going back to this thing of having a higher duty or a higher purpose, that's what led them to doing things that were higher than themselves. Where at that point, you don't care, oh, I want to use this body to connect to the one. It's, I'm going to use this body to give it as a sacrifice for something bigger than myself.
Yeah.
And that can manifest in different ways, where even Guru Ram Singh Ji is saying in one of the hukumnames, or the letters that they're sending from Rangoon, is a lot of Sikh at that time, they had sold a lot of their jameen, a lot of their land.
Yeah.
They would even put their farms to light, that I have no connection to this land anymore. And they would write letters to Guru Ram Singh saying, we want to give martyrdom, we want to become shaheed. And Guru Ram Singh Ji writes in reply that right now, what is equal to martyrdom is for you to read Gurbani, for you to do your Naam Simran.
And a lot of people who were giving up land, money, jewellery, personal possessions was to contribute to the langar. Langar being the community kitchen.
Yeah, 100%.
So it was completely selfless.
Yeah.
Community
and where I wanted to relate this back to actually superstition, because otherwise it might seem, why am I bringing this up? But what it was is that I think sometimes related to superstition is where sometimes we talk about karam. And here maybe we call it karma, and it's such a deep topic. Like when I've studied it, it's such a nuanced thing. I think when we say the word karam or karma, we say it so like flippantly, and we judge other people that, oh, look, bad has happened to them. It's because of their karma. They've done something bad. That's why that's happening to them.
Or full circle. So if somebody's got hit, that's because they, I don't know, dented my car.
100%. And this is how we think. Let's be honest.
That's crazy.
This is how we think. Right? Whereas when we look at Bhai Mani Singh, their whole family are martyred. There's no actual male lineage left from their family. When we look at Guru Gobind Singh Ji, what didn't happen to Guru Gobind Singh? Like, what in terms of the pain of what the world can offer you? They lost their house. They lost
since childhood.
Father.
Since childhood. And
so Guru Gobind Singh Ji at age 9 have lost their father figure. They're now they're responsible for the whole entire community
at the age of 9 or 11.
Very young. And then at a later stage in their life, they've lost kingdom. They've lost wealth. They've lost family. They've lost their sons.
Their literature.
Literature
Lost their sons. Not even just one son, like multiple sons.
He turned around and said that all his Sikh are his children. Now, like
Char moek ta kya hua, jeevat kai hazar.
That in itself just shows the sense of community he had and the spirit he had on the humankind rather than just his own people.
100%.
You know what I mean?
And for those people that and for those people that want to represent something that is higher than themselves, that I am there for you and you are my son. And is there any one of us that would say, and who think of Guru Gobind Singh Ji would say that, oh, they had bad karma? I don't think any of us would say that, right?
And going full circle, I think that one of the reasons for calling this podcast Not in the Clouds is because, again, Sadhguru Gobind Singh Ji saw the one, the creator in everyone. And that's one of the reasons that they had a gold-tipped arrow. Is so whoever that arrow pierced, their family could benefit from, and wouldn't be...
That was a hard concept for me to understand as well. When, Guru Gobind Singh Ji has enemies? How? How does a Sikh Panth have enemies?
I don't think they do. No. Because, I mean, they're obviously, in my head, and I'm sure there's history to back this up, they're doing Asadiwar in the morning. Right? Within the Asadiwar, the last line is, Kisno kahiya nanaka, sab kuch aap aap. And if Sadhguru Ji Sache Paatshah are reading this, they're not a hypocrite. And they're battling. I don't think they're battling with hatred, or they're not seeing any enemies on this battlefield. 100%. They're seeing murats of themselves. They're seeing shadows of themselves.
Tough concept.
Superstitions are a real roadblock. I mean, for example, number 13. That's a huge roadblock. Like, I mean, you can't press. Like, there's some lifts that don't have the number 13. Some hotels don't have 13 floors.
Whereas for us, 13 is like the number, right? You gave that to
what
us.
What do you mean? So what do you mean?
So 13 in Punjabi is tera. If you take the bindi away from the kanna, then it's tera, meaning that everything is yours, essentially.
And that, again, devotional, that bhakti movement.
Yeah.
You know, everything is tera.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a whole story that comes behind that. But
I think there's an element then. Definitely, when I was thinking of this, what I don't want this to come across as is that we're saying things beyond our understanding don't exist. Definitely, like when we look at anything, things have an influence on us. That is not exactly touching us in that sense. Like if you look at a picture and it's a picture of your family or a picture of your guru, how that has an influence on your mind, and that's not even touching you, right? You could be standing really far away from something and it's having an influence on you. And if you look at something negative or somebody's being hurt and you see like injustice happening, how that can affect you, and that can completely change your day, right? And this connects to these other things where we're talking, where from a young age we always heard about people doing nazar. Anybody that doesn't know, nazar is a word
evil eye?
A lot of us evil eye, yes,
evil
of something all of us probably have heard about from a young age. I think it's quite universal. I think globally, I would say.
Turkish put that blue sort of. I'm not sure what it is, but
the equivalent in the UK is horseshoes, right? People put up horseshoes to ward off evil eyes.
We used to have one on our old house.
Okay.
And in India, you see those scary little faces on the houses with like mircha and nimbu, chilies and lemons.
Really?
Yeah. People when they buy cars, I think I've seen it. I don't know if you know, but they something like dangling on the back of the cars, like this black thing.
That's how you know they're Asian.
Brandi.
Okay, where it's where we, if we want to take it to the higher understanding, what we get from Gurbani is that we shouldn't really believe in these things. Why? Is because when you believe what you have with you is way more powerful than what anybody can ever throw at me, then why would you fear it?
What do you mean by that?
Because from our research, one of the foundations of a lot of these superstitions is the need for control. I'm setting the stage up, I think, for you, John, is psychologically, every human in any shape, form, whether it's professionally within our careers as project managers, scrum masters or whatever, designers, we seek control. We seek to understand the unpredictable, what's going to happen, how do we influence certain actions in the future. You as a designer, Juan, your whole job is revolved around how can I get this person to click through
100%
at a certain degree, right?
And actually we're rewarded for being able to navigate the aspects which we can't control. But going back to that, how do we break that down a little bit? I would say when I was actually studying this, there's a person, I was reading their book, Sant Mohinder Singh, and they had studied a lot about something that we call Brahmvidya. And what Brahmvidya means is the science behind wanting to understand oneness and wanting to understand where we've come from. And in that he talks about two types of knowledge. And he says pratikul gyan and anukul gyan. Pratikul means that those that I do not agree with, meaning that somebody that doesn't agree with me, it's that belief inside me that they are not a part of me. And anukul gyan means that somebody that is part of me, that somebody that agrees with me, my family, or somebody that is on my side, they are part of me. And he's saying that this is actually the foundation of us not being connected to that ultimate understanding, that to our Creator. And is that why we don't believe in that? Because we believe in something higher than us. Is that if the person that we believe holds that power to actually cast an evil eye on me, but what they actually truly are my friend. Because really, there's no difference between me and them.
Yeah.
So why would anything they do have an effect on me? There's a story of actually Sahu Pratap Singh Ji. They were walking, and in the context we're talking about 1947.
Yeah.
This is where India going through a very, very tough time in our history, where Pakistan has been created. We're trying to get to a point of independence, but in the road of that, many people are being killed. Let's be honest, off the back of religious divisions,
Bigotry,
right?
Yeah.
And that hard line aspect, right?
Yeah.
Of I am this, and that is the case. But I was actually reading yesterday, when we look at the stats of the Sikh Empire, is that actually within that only 16% were Sikhs.
Yeah.
80% were Muslim.
Yeah.
And just a fun fact there. At that time, Sahu Pratap Singh Ji are walking on their own, and one of their close Sikh, they come and say to Sadhguruji that please don't walk like that on your own. You should always keep a gun with you.
Yeah.
You don't know anybody that might come. You should always keep a weapon. And Sahu Pratap Singh Ji replies saying, "Harsyo jure ta sabko umeed," meaning that once you connect to that, your creator, then everybody is your friend.
Bura pala kaho kisno kahiye.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's that understanding that everyone's
So that's why
created.
for a Sikh, and for this higher understanding, that nazar is nothing to you.
Yeah.
But let's say for those people that haven't got there, and let's be honest, we haven't got there,
No.
these things have an effect on us.
Not massively.
Psychologically, yeah.
So it's not, there's an aspirational aspect where we can get to a point where these things don't afflict you.
But do you feel that we bring that upon ourselves as well a little bit?
Yeah, because you've given someone that power, right?
Exactly. We feel that, okay, so that person's looked at me in a different way, so now I've just had an accident.
Just to try and understand what you're saying, are you saying that somehow actually they haven't really done anything, or
Of course.
they
Well, we don't know. We don't know.
Well, but there's an element of you've self-afflicted, you've manifested your negative thought.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That sometimes we are too busy thinking what other people are thinking when we don't even have control of our own thoughts.
Yeah,
It's
that's so
a
true.
valid point, because it comes up in Gurbani as well. Okay, depending on what you are thinking about, like you say, you can manifest negative and positive things in your life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Why is Simran so important in Gurbani? When Sachpashi says, Simro, Simr Sukh Pavo. By thinking, you can obtain peace.
Let's go for the word Simran. What is Simran?
Simran, good question. Okay. Simran is remembrance.
Yeah.
And in this context, what are we remembering, or what are we thinking about?
Yeah,
If we're thinking about the divine being in everybody, that's a good thought.
yeah, 100%.
Like that.
If you think that's the divine is in everything, then why would that person wish bad on you? Or because that could also be somebody could be wishing bad for you, but you want to imagine that they're not wishing bad, and it's a whole circle.
Well, to go into another direction is that I think Guru Gobind Singh Ji, why I love reading Guru Gobind Singh Ji Bani, is it's very honest that bad exists.
Yeah, of course.
But that bad isn't is due to the way we perceive it. Is we've
It's our
perceived
label.
it as bad.
Yeah.
If somebody thought negative about you, why is that bad?
Yeah. We label things, right?
Right? Why is that bad? Like,
It's true. Why is that?
Why is that a bad thing that somebody's thought negatively
Why
about
should
you?
that even matter?
If anything,
Exactly.
sometimes I think actually, yeah, I probably deserve it.
Actually, if anything, within history, Nindya is seen as a very good thing. If somebody's doing
Yes.
Nindya of you, right, that's seen as a very positive thing for you, because again, there's that kahavat ki they're washing your kapde for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you see, like, it goes back to your thing of what you're going to manifest. You could turn it round.
Yeah.
I think I was listening to an old recording of Joe Rogan, actually, and I found it quite interesting, because I doubt he's read Guru Nanak Dev Ji's teachings or anything. Maybe he has, I'm not sure. But he was talking about, through his fight for this understanding, what he felt was that we're all climbing up this slippery slope. And when you're climbing up that slippery slope, you can fall, but there's this effort involved. And through that effort, as you kind of start getting above that horizon, and you're starting to realize that actually this is all like a microcosm. And that microcosm meaning that, let's say I'm positive with you, or I share love with you. You know how many people that I'm probably not going to speak to, right? people, colleagues at work, people in your family. If I set off a chain reaction of giving love to you, that's going to change your whole day.
Everything's connected.
Right?
Oh, 100%.
And then you're going to do that to other people. How long would it take for then that chain to actually reach the whole world?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's that concept.
But it stops at somebody.
Be the change that you want to see in the world, right?
Yeah.
It's that thing.
Being the change
That you want to see in the world.
that you want to see. I like that.
Jordan Peterson, who said, if you want to change anything, then I think you were telling me that clean your room first.
There's this big element of cleaning your room, of what is around you has an influence on you. And actually, that's a good point. I don't know how, maybe if we can define it as that, but let's say we have a room and it's messy.
Yeah.
Is that self-inflicted nazar?
Do you know what? That is actually a cool concept. I like that.
That we self-inflicted the nazar? And just to build on what he's trying to get at, I think, if you're putting yourself in a messy situation, it leads to mess in your life. And why is it that the first time where somebody wants to teach you discipline, like it's that stereotypical thing we see in movies when we look at somebody who's just joined the army, of their beds are immaculate, right? And why is such importance given to that? And there was an army general that I was listening to, and they were giving a speech, and they said throughout the day we could be massive failures, but when you go back to the bed and you see that you did it in the morning and you made it neat, that at least that by the end of the day, before you go to sleep, you say, at least I achieved one thing in the day.
That's brilliant. I mean, look, okay, taking that back a little bit, Karate Kid. I don't know if you guys have watched the film Karate Kid. He makes him wash the cars in a certain way. Makes
repetitiveness.
Repetitiveness. Why is that? Because then it drives that discipline.
100%.
And I think we're lacking discipline in today's day. And I mean, I know that if I want some bread, for example, or some milk, I can either walk to the shop 10 minutes, I can Uber Eats it, you know what I mean? Or I can, and it's like, I don't have that discipline to go outside and walk to the shop, but I'll go and order it. That's a small thing, but there's loads of things in life that we don't have discipline. We've been given this body as well, 100%. And how much do we actually take care of it? How much, how much do we use it?
100%. And I like that concept of Karate Kid. I'm a really big fan of those old school kind of kung fu movies. I really love them. The reason why is when the teacher would tell the student what to do in that scenario, that in that moment the student would be swearing at their teacher.
It would be a rebellion.
And that what made me think, actually, just doing loads of formalities of pretending you like things all the time isn't really true, right?
No, it's so true.
But through that fight, that's what brought the love between the teacher and the student.
It's so true. When I started learning tabla first, at the beginning, it was like, well, I want to play whatever I want to play. I don't care what my teacher teaches me, really. I want it to sound cool, you know what I mean? But it becomes more than that. So that repetitiveness, you sit there 40 minutes, an hour becomes 2 hours, and it just 100%. It can grow exponentially once that love grows, but that discipline needs to be there first.
Those people that actually get to that intuitive understanding through love, what we were talking about, that fight, because they've been through that fight, right? They've got through that fight and they're on the other side to a certain extent. Those people can then help you even spiritually. And for us, we can't see those things. And sometimes it takes us down a route of then not believing it because we haven't seen it. And fine, I think that's fair enough as well. But those things do exist. And I think we see it kind of every day of people that are fighting things that maybe they can't see.
Okay, let's have a little bit of fun now.
Okay.
A little bit. Let's talk about things that we may have learnt this week, or maybe something that we can share. Doesn't have to be to do with spirituality. Can be to do with anything.
Okay.
So
I think I can kick off.
I'll go for it.
Yeah. So figs. Yeah.
Figs.
When was the last time you ate one?
I haven't, but I've heard.
I think I know where this is going.
Yeah.
I haven't ate it.
But there was I watched a very detailed documentary.
You got a lot of time on your hands, huh?
It was on TikTok, so it was 30 seconds.
Oh, okay.
Documentary on TikTok.
Yeah. This is how I'm consuming knowledge.
This is our attention span.
Yeah.
But a 30-second video is a documentary.
It was a snippet of a documentary, 30 seconds. But it's Sir David Attenborough.
Okay.
And they've got how they do very close-up shots of nature, and they've got a close-up of a fig.
Okay.
And the fig wasp, it's a female fig wasp, always a female fig wasp. Figs aren't vegan.
Okay,
They're not even,
interesting.
I mean, vegetarian, I don't.
Yeah, they're
They're
not
not vegetarian.
It's fruit meat.
It's fruit meat, yeah. So the female wasp lays eggs inside the fig,
Okay.
and it sort of dies within the fig because it can't get out.
Okay.
And the eggs, when they hatch, it's always
Wait, so it goes through, and then
Yeah.
it can't
like can't escape. No.
Oh, okay.
So it's laid the eggs inside the fig. The eggs hatch, and kudrati, so naturally, the males will hatch before the females.
Okay.
And as the males hatch inside the fig, they impregnate their sisters,
Jeez.
right?
Okay.
Oh,
And
that's-
so, yeah.
That's
Okay.
crazy, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
shocked.
crazy. Yeah. And as then the females who are now impregnated hatch,
Yeah.
the males will exit the fig first, always, naturally.
Yeah.
Again, mine was blown when, because it's a whole process that has to happen this way, otherwise there's no survival.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's no figs that get pollinated. The males come out of the fig first. They tunnel through by eating the fig from the inside, coming out,
Wow.
and they sacrifice themselves to protect the impregnated females so that they can escape. And they only live for 24 hours, these impregnated females, to go then pollinate other figs.
The figs.
And this whole process happens within a day.
So what was the insect called?
It's a fig wasp.
Fig wasp. Okay, so it's
Yeah,
a
it's a
wasp.
fly,
right?
yeah, it's a fly.
It's like a fly.
Interesting,
Okay.
yeah.
I did not know that.
That's
And that,
interesting.
I've been telling everyone that I know.
But just to get this straight,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Figs are jute.
Yeah.
Figs involve incest.
Yep. yeah.
Figs are mad.
Again, well, it comes down to the labeling thing that we do in life, and we've labelled it as incest,
Oh, that's
but
true.
it's just a natural process
Yeah.
For the fig wasp.
for the fig wasp.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen anywhere else, right? I have a new one for you next week.
That is
That's
interesting.
crazy.
My one is rather simpler. Everyone uses a QR code every day.
Yeah.
What does QR stand for? And Asa, you know this.
I know
so
this.
just
Do you know it?
Yeah, 'cause
Okay, let me guess then,
go
because
on,
I
go on,
definitely don't
go
know.
on.
Try deduct it.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. So it's two words.
Yeah.
Yeah, two words.
QR.
Okay.
Talk us through your process.
Q. I don't know. What could Q stand for? For some reason, my mind just quad keeps coming in my mind.
Because it has four sides.
Yeah,
Oh, maybe.
quad, yeah.
Maybe.
Like quad,
It's not.
and
What's
then
the
R.
purpose?
R. I always thought reader.
Reader could be.
Yeah.
So
But
it
anyway,
stands,
you
it stands
you
for
go.
quick response.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
And I told this to Dr. Gusev from London,
Yeah.
and he got it straight away. Like his power of deduction, he took we had this-
He really didn't know
He
beforehand.
didn't know what it was, didn't Google it.
Well, this is why I'm
and
not a
his
doctor.
his deduction was, well, what does a QR code do?
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
like, well, it's meant to be quick
Yeah.
because you're meant to get a link quickly or get
Really
information
interesting.
quickly,
Yeah.
and then
So when you were saying try to deduct it, you had lots of hopes on me.
I did, but yeah, well, did you have your Weetabix?
Seriously, you could have sat me here for a long time. I wouldn't have got, I wouldn't have got
I
that.
didn't
I wouldn't have got to that point. So thank
Is
God
that
he's a
right?
doctor.
Yeah,
Mate, we could. Yeah,
Well,
we should get him on here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
100%.
He'll be
I
fun.
think I have a list of people that would be good. On
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Googs from Leicester.
Yeah.
He's,
Googs from
he's
Leicester.
good.
Yeah.
But what's yours?
What's
Joanne?
yours, Joanne?
One thing that is going to surprise everybody is that I found recently in some papers that when I was finishing my A-levels,
Yeah.
I wasn't great education-wise. And I found the original application that I had to join the army.
Oh, really?
No way. You're going to
And-
join the army?
Yeah. So this is, people don't know this about me, is that I was very close to joining
Malaysia.
yeah. no, and it's a very funny story. So this is a point in my life where I've not read about Sikh history. If anybody actually asked me, I would tell people, even though I had a juda and everything, I would
Yeah.
tell people I'm atheist.
Yeah.
And I started reading about Sikh history,
Yeah.
right? And especially the Kuka movement. And obviously, one of the first things you read in there is the British writing. A Kuka can never be loyal to the empire.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Just on record, I do like being in this country.
Yeah. I've had
I've
to
got a
actually.
passport.
I've had to swear an oath. I had to swear an oth.
Really?
to get-
Yes.
Yeah.
Recently.
I had an Indian passport.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
yeah, he's
When-
naturalized.
I'm
yeah.
naturalised,
Oh,
so
no
I had
way.
to
Yeah.
swear allegiance to Queen Elizabeth,
Oh.
R.I.P.
I don't know why I'm laughing. Oh man, bless
so
her,
funny
God
about
bless her.
that?
I don't know, it's just the way you put your hand on your heart.
Still feels her.
Yeah, she's still
Always.
there.
Nice one. Catch you on the next one, guys.